Hello, hello, hello. Greetings, greetings. This your girl Tiffany coming back through live in effect. Tonight I want to get on the topic about and this topic I don't do very often. I don't even get on these type of subjects very much, but this one I happen to watch the video and documentary about this individual, and I said, well, this one needs to be spoken on because you have to explain people like this. You have to explain people who carry on some type of detrimental and psychological behavior as this guy here. So the person that's on the topic on the menu, and I ain't talking about for dinner either, but I'm talking about on the topic is Samuel Little. So who was Samuel Little? Who was Samuel Little and what did he do to deserve such a topic today? Well, let's just say this man made a killing out of being a career excuse me. Let's just say he made a killing out of being a career criminal. Yeah, he was a career criminal for the past 35 years of his life. And he was known for killing women, and particularly women who were living lifestyles such as prostitution and those who were drug addicts, those who he thought were very vulnerable and he could prey upon them, that he saw that had no value in themselves or life. So what this man would do, he'll see these women walking or be somewhere out in public and he'll scoop them up, take them out to eat. He had a little fantasy about their necks because depending on the shape of the woman's neck, that's what he goes for. He had that fantasy for a long time. And he would kill them. He would strangle them. He would choke them. That's how he would kill these women and throw their bodies in the alleys, in the woods somewhere, or even throw it in the river. So while I go into the concept about Samuel Little and his biography, I also have to go into like explain the psychology of all of this and the pathology that comes along with it. Okay. So what I am going to do, first of all, I'm going to go into I'm going to show you what this guy looked like first and foremost. All right. So that's Samuel, as you can see, that's Samuel Little. That's him. Okay. So now let's go into his life story of what took place. So to find out a study of the origin and the causation of things or individuals is called etiology. So etiology deals with the study of the causation and things that took place. So what we're going to look at, right, is the origin of his life and what was his childhood like. And then we're going to get down to the crimes that he has committed. Jesus. All right. So Samuel Little was born on June 7, 1940. So yesterday would have been his birthday. And he died on December 30th of 2020. And was an American serial killer who was convicted in 2012 of the murders of 3 women in California between 1987 and 1989, as well as being convicted in 2018 of the murder of 1 woman in Texas in 1994. He claimed to have killed as many as 93 women. An investigator had linked him to over 60 murders. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has confirmed Little's involvement in at least 60 murders, the largest number of proven cases for any serial killer in the United States history. He allegedly murdered women across 19 states over 35 years, ending around 2005. The number of murders he confessed to, if confirmed, would make him the most prolific serial killer in the United States history, according to Ector County, Texas District Attorney Bobby Bland. So there's many reasons why, or there's multiple reasons why people choose to live their lives as serial killers or doing any type of career in criminal activities, because they find a pleasure and they gain profit. But the question I wonder, why was it so easy for him to go after women? Why would he never go after men? Why would he use this? Why would he not do this type of pathological behavior towards men? But he would do it to women, especially women that are vulnerable. Or I wonder, have he ever attempted to do that to a man? Maybe he was too afraid to do it. Maybe he was more so worried, or could it be that he was worried that more than likely he would have got himself killed? He would have got shot. He would have got beaten to death if he done it to a man. He probably would not really got away with it. And I wonder, while he was incarcerated, why no males in prison took on the opportunity to violate this man the way he violated these women. But I'm going to go ahead and continue. So he was born on June 7, 1940 in Reynolds, Georgia, to a mother he claimed was a prostitute. Soon after his birth, Little's family moved to Lorain, Ohio, where he was brought up mainly by his grandmother. He attended to Hawthorne Junior High School, where he had problems with discipline and achievement. By his own account, he began having sexual fantasy about strangling women as a child, starting when he saw his kindergarten teacher touch her neck. As a teenager, he collected true crime magazine depicting women being choked. In 1956, after being convicted of breaking and entering into property in Omaha, Nebraska, Little was held in an institution for juvenile offenders. Little moved to Florida to live with his mother in his late 20s, working at various times as a cemetery worker and ambulance attendant by his own account. He said he then began traveling more widely and had more run-ins with the law, being arrested in 8 states for crimes that included driving under the influence, fraud, shoplifting, solicitation, armed robbery, aggravated assault, and rape. Little claimed that he took up boxing during his stints in prison, referring to himself as former prize fighter. So, this man got arrested multiple times for the lowest crime to the highest crime. And according to an interview that I watched, he did 10 years. That was the most that he did when he got locked up the first time, or, throughout his years of his criminal activity, but then they let him go. But he didn't stop until 2005 because he realized he was too old and he would never really got away. And here go crimes. In 1961, Little was sentenced to 3 years in prison for breaking into a furniture store in Lorraine. He was released in 1964. By 1975, he had been arrested 26 times in 11 states for crimes including theft, assault, attempted rape, fraud, and attack on government officials. In 1982, Little was arrested in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and charged with the murder of 22-year-old Melinda Rose LaPrade, who had been gone missing in September of that year. A grand jury declined to indict him for her murder. However, while under investigation, Little was extradited to Florida and tried for the murder of 26-year-old Patricia Ann Mount, whose body was found in September 1982. Prosecution witnesses identified Little in court as a person who spent time with Mount on the night before her disappearance. Due to the mistrust of witnesses' testimony, Little was acquitted in January of 1984. Little moved to California, where he stayed in the vicinity of San Diego. In October of 1984, he was arrested for kidnapping, beating, and strangling 22-year-old Lori Burrows, who survived. 1 month later, he was found by police in the backseat of his car with an unconscious woman also being and strangled in the same location as the attempted murder of Burrows. Little served 2.5 years in prison for both crimes. Upon his release in February 1987, he immediately moved to Los Angeles and committed at least 10 additional murders. Little was arrested on September 5th of 2012 at a homeless shelter in Louisville, Kentucky, and extradited to California to face a narcotic charge, after which authorities used DNA testing to establish that he was involved in the murder of Carol Eileen Elford, killed on July 13 of 1987, Guadalupe Duarte Apodaca, killed on September the 3rd, 1987, and Audrey Nelson Everett, killed on August 14, 1984. All three women were killed and later found on the streets of Los Angeles. He was extradited to Los Angeles, where he was charged on January the 7th of 2013. A few months later, the police said that Little was being investigated for involvement in 3 dozen murders committed in the 1980s, until then had been undisclosed. In a connection with the new circumstances in Mississippi, the LaPrade murder case was reopened. In total, Little was tested for involvement in 93 murders of women committed in many U.S. states. Trial and incarceration. Little was tried for the murder of Elford Nelson and Apodaca in September 2014. The prosecution presented the DNA evidence as well as testimony of witnesses who were attacked by the accused at different times throughout his criminal career. On September 25, 2014, Little was found guilty and was sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. On the day of the verdict, Little continued to insist on his innocence. Before his death, Little was serving a sentence at California State Prison, Los Angeles County. All right, so it says, interesting. Latest confession. So on November the 9th, 2018, Little confessed to the 1996 fatal strangulation of Melissa Thomas. On November 13, 2018, Little was charged with the 1994 murder of Denise Christie brothers in Odessa, Texas, after having confessed the crime to Texas Ranger in May of 2018. Little pleaded guilty to the murder of brothers on December 13 and received another life sentences. The Ector County, Texas District Attorney and Wise County, Texas Sheriff Office announced on November 13th that Little had confessed to dozens of murder and may have committed more than 90 across 14 states between 1970 and 2005. On November 15, 2018, the Russell County, Alabama District Attorney announced that Little had earlier that month confessed to the 1979 murder of 23-year-old Belinda Alexander, whose body was found in Phoenix City, Alabama. On November 16, 2018, Macon, Georgia's sheriffs announced that Little had credibly confessed to the 1977 strangling murder of an unidentified woman and the 1982 strangling murder of 18-year-old Fredonna Smith. In the fall of 2018, Little confessed to the 1982 murder of 55-year-old Dorothy Richards and the 1996 murder of 40-year-old Daisy McGuire. Both of their bodies were found in Houma, Louisiana. All right, so wow. Let's skip down. So it says in December 2018, Little was indicted for strangling Linda Sue Boards, 23, to death in May of 1981 in Warren County, Kentucky. Her body was found on May 15 of 1981 near U.S. Route 68. One of Little's victims was identified in December 2018 as Martha Common of Knox County, Tennessee, who was 34-year-old when Little murdered her in 1975. On May 31st of 2019, Cuyahoga County, Ohio prosecutor announced indictments with 4 counts of aggravated murder and 6 counts of kidnapping that accused Little of killing Mary Jo Penton in 1984 and Rose Evans in 1991. In Cleveland, both victims were strangled and dumped. The body of Rose Evans, 32, was found on August 24th, 1991 in a vacant lot on East 39th Street. She left her hometown of Binghamton, New York when she was 17. Evan had been strangled, according to coroner Elizabeth K. Barrage. As for Peyton, and anthropologists had to create a model of what she looked like, but she remained unidentified to 1992 when Cleveland put her thumbprint in an FBI data and got a match. Little picked up Peyton at a bar near East 105th and Euclid Avenues. He described her as a short, plump woman in her 20s with brown hair. Little confessed to killing another Cleveland woman in 1977 or 1978. The woman murdered in 1977 or 1978 was found on the March 18th of 1983 in Willoughby Hills, Ohio, according to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. She was likely black and somewhere between 17 and 35 years old. The woman's body had been dumped down a grassy slope near a fence in a wooded area just off Interstate 271. When her body was found by a man walking his dog, only her skeleton, some clothes, and jewelry remained. Little confessed to killing one woman in Akron, Ohio, 2 in Cincinnati. One of the bodies was dumped outside of Columbus, Ohio, and one woman he met in Columbus and disposed of in Kentucky. Of the 2 women Little murdered in Cincinnati, one was identified as Anna Stewart, 33, whose body was dumped in Grove City, Ohio. Stewart was last seen on October 6, 1981, getting out of the cab at General Hospital to see her sister in the hospital, now University of Cincinnati Academic Health Center. She was killed on October 11. He killed the other woman between 1980 and 1999. The Jane Doe was anywhere from 15 to 50, as the details of her age and the date of her murder are unclear. She was black, slender, wore glasses, and lived in the over the Rhine neighborhood of Cincinnati with a heavy female Hispanic. Little left her beside a cigarette billboard in Ohio. On June 7th, 2019, Little was indicted in Hampton County, Ohio for murdering the two women killed in Cincinnati. Little had drawn portraits of many women he killed. These portraits were released by the FBI in hopes of someone identifying the women. At least one portrait solved a cold case in Akron, Ohio. In November of 2020, Little confessed to two Florida murders, for one of which another man had been wrongfully convicted. So that's the list right here. Confirmed murder victims, partial list. Suspected murders victim. All right, now here's his personal life. He had a long-term girlfriend, Jean, since deceased, who supported them both through shoplifting for years. He used a wheelchair and had diabetes and a heart condition. So this woman that he was with, she was 30 years older than him. So she was old enough to be his mother at that time when he was doing all this criminal activity. And Little died on December 30th, 2020 in a Los Angeles County hospital. Los Angeles County area hospital, although California Department of Correction and Rehabilitation sources indicate no final determination as to specific cause of death. Little suffered from the aforementioned diabetes, heart problems, and other health conditions. And there is a documentary I call Confronting a Serial Killer, which is a television miniseries directed and produced by Joe Berlinger. It explores Jillian Lauren as she learns and investigates Sam Little, the most prolific serial killer in American history. Consists of 5 episodes. It premiered on April the 18th of 2021 on Starz. Okay. So this man had a passion for killing women. And so he was aroused. So first what he'll do is either A, he'll rape them and then kill them, or he'll just simply kill them. So there's a term to describe people like Samuel Little who gets aroused and who finds it fascinating to murder innocent people, and it's called lust murder. All right, so let's look at what lust murder is. All right. Lust murder is a homicide in which the offender searches for erotic satisfaction by killing someone. Lust murder is synonymous with the paraphilic term erotophenophilia. So erotophenophilia is having some type of pleasure out of killing people, which is sexual arousal or gratification contingent on the death of a human being. The term lust killing stems from the original work of Richard von Krafft-Ebing in his 1898 discussion of sadist homicide. Commonly, this type of crime is manifested either by murder during sexual activity, by mutilating the sexual organs or areas of the victim bodies, or by murder and mutilation. The mutilation of the victim may include invesceration, displacement of the sexual organ, or both. The mutilation usually takes place post-mortem. Although the killing sequence may include an act of sexual intercourse does not always occur, and other types of sexual acts may be part of the homicide. All right. So it says in 2019, current psychiatry reports published a review of the recent findings on sexual homicide research and concluded that sexual murderers should be viewed as specific offender with distinct traits, which requires an international reporting system. Earlier, the authors of the review reported on comparisons of offenders in the French National Police database with the same conclusion. Yeah, so it's weird. There's people out there that's like that, that has a passion for murdering people, especially after they engage in sexual activity. So now let's go ahead and look at psychopathology. Now, with psychopathology is the study of abnormal cognitions, behavior, and experiences, which differs according to social norms and rested upon a number of constructs that are deemed to be the social norm at any particular era. It can be broadly separated into descriptive and explanatory. Descriptive psychopathology involves categorizing, defining, and understanding symptoms as reported by people and observed through their behavior, which are then assess it according to a social norm. Explanatory psychopathology looks to find explanation for kinds of symptoms according to theoretical models. According to theoretical models such as psychodynamics, cognitive behavioral therapy, or through understanding how they have been constructed by drawing upon constructivist ground theory or interpretative phenomenological analysis. A practitioner in a clinical or academic field is referred to as a psychopathologist. Now, biological psychopathology is the study of the biological ethology of abnormal cognition, behavior, and experiences. Child psychopathology is a specialization applied to children and adolescents. Animal psychopathology is a specialization applied to non-human animals. This concept is linked to philosophical ideas first outlined by Galton in 1869 and is linked to the appliance of eugenical ideations around what constitutes the human. All right. Oh, here's the history. It says, early explanation for mental illness was influenced by religious belief and superstition. Psychological conditions that are now classified as mental disorder were initially attributed to possession by evil spirits, demons, and the devil. This idea was widely accepted up until the 16th and 17th century. Individuals who suffer from these so-called possession were tortured as treatment, or as Foucault outlines in The History of Madness viewed as seers. Joan of Arc. Religious practitioners used this technique in hoping to bring their patient back to sanity, but increasingly there was the shift to the great confinement. All right, so this information goes into the psychopathology, and when you explain people like Samuel Little, who exhibit these type of behaviors, because he had this trait ever since he was a child, and he always had this fantasy about killing people, right, or killing women in particularly, because he saw how his teacher was touching on her neck. So he had a fascination with it. And as he became a teenager, he read about true crimes and how people done got away with murder. Now, another term is ethology. Ethology is the study of causation or origination. The word is derived from the Greek etolia, giving a reason for. More completely, ethology is the study of the cause, origin, or reasons behind the way that things are or the way they function, or it can refer to the causes themselves. The word is commonly used in medicine and in philosophy, but also in physics, psychology, government, geography, spatial analysis, theology, and biology in reference to the cause or origin of various phenomena. In the past, when many physical phenomena were not well understood or when histories were not recorded, myths often arose to provide ethology. Thus, an ethological myth or origin myth is a myth that has arisen, being told over time or written to explain the origins of various social or natural phenomena. For example, Virgil Aeneid is a national myth written to explain and glorify the origins of the Roman Empire. In theology, many religions have creation myths explain the origins of the world or its relationship to believers. All right. All right, then. So, anyways, yeah, these are the things that explain psychological behavior and social behavior, right? Psychopathology and etiology. Yeah, etiology and psychopathology, and also lust murder. Now, going back to social pathology. Now, what is social pathology? Well, social pathology deals with a social construct or social behavior that is considered as deviant that has been passed on to generation from generation. Now, check this out. You can look it up in encyclopedia.com. So social pathology is a concept developed in modern social science to refer both to aspects of social structures and to the behaviors and values attributed to particular social categories. All right, so definition of social pathology are particular to specific time and reflect the dominant moral concerns of the era. This concept fits within the ideas of anthropologist Mary Douglas. In Purity and Danger, 1966, she examined the universality of cultural explanations of things considered out of order as polluting and dangerous. These cultural construction emerged in specific contexts. Regarding social pathology, prior to the Enlightenment in Europe, social transgression were attributed to supernatural forces exerted by spirits or evil humans. As the Enlightenment focused on human reason and scientific understanding of the natural world, early social scientists began to objectify what they define as natural laws of society that explains undesirable human behavior as transgression of natural law. Okay? Now, check this out. The idea of declaring the behavior of individuals in particular social categories as socially pathological follow a different trajectory. In the post-Darwin 19th century, Darwin's theory of evolution change were applied loosely in ways that misinterpret his theory. Particular social categories or population were seen as having an essential, innate, and immutable behavioral inferiority leading to criminal and dangerous behavior. While Darwin saw natural selection occurring in a random, purposeless way with no implied hierarchy of worth, social Darwinism saw different classes and races as arrayed in terms of inferiority and superiority. All right. And let's go further down to continue on. Because stability and order are privileged as natural and normal, and the profound and rapid social changes of recent decades are relegated to the sphere of the abnormal and dangerous, people who are the most disadvantaged and excluded in dominant ideologies and representations such as single mothers, non-white, and non-heterosexual are blamed for their own situation. They also function as popular scapegoats for broader social problems and moral decline. In this way, they carry the weight of social problems not only through their personal circumstances of material and political deprivation, but also through their symbolic representation as stigmatized and despised people. Social science critiques of the culture of poverty examine ways to represent poor people as varied individuals with competence and awareness who cannot be categorized in terms of innate biology or culture. Particular behaviors of the poor can be analyzed in terms of the extremely constrained option of disadvantaged social position as rational strategies or as political opposition rather than social pathology. And I'm just going to stop right there. So you can check out this terminology on encyclopedia.com. Okay. So basically, most of the people that are career criminals, they typically come from a very rough background. They come from a rough background, such as they can come from an abusive home. They can come from being molested. They can come from poverty, extreme poverty, to where they turn to the life of crime because they don't know how to really function in the normal sense, or they don't know how to deal with their problems. So they feel like in order to deal with the problems, they may have a counter at home, or whether it be abuse or dealing with some type of economic deprivation. The way they go about dealing with their problems is to use criminal lifestyle as a way to escape from that. So if someone in the past that has abused them, they'll take that out on individuals in society. So Samuel Little, because his mother was a prostitute and his mother wasn't really there for him, she pretty much abandoned him. And he was left to be raised by his grandmother. So he had this anger towards prostitutes and those who were drug addicts. So he felt like they had no value. He felt like they didn't need to be here. So he would go after the ones that were very vulnerable and they were very defenseless. They could not stand up for themselves. And that was his way of responding back at his mother. That was his way of getting back at his mother for not being there. Now, I'm not making an excuse as far as bringing about justification, but I'm just showing you the pathological behavior and looking at the, ethology, the ethology as far as the origin of why he committed the crime. So he was fascinated with that. And a lot of it had to do with because he had no maternal guidance or paternal guidance, and all the thing he had was his grandmother. So he figured, okay, every woman that reminds me of my mother, I'm going to take out. I'm going to take advantage of them. That was his way of thinking. And he had a joy of pleasures behind it. So he would go out here and rape these women and he would kill them because he felt like they was not desirable. And it was his way of how he felt about his mother, because she was a prostitute and she didn't have time for him. So he felt like she was undesirable as a mother. You know, so our circumstances and situation can bring about or create certain type of behavior. And it could cause us to do certain things as human that would be very detrimental to and very harmful to others in society. So that's why you have those who are menaces to society, because they are very nihilistic, meaning that they don't care. They don't see no value. So somebody like Mr. Little, well, I wouldn't even call him Mr., but somebody like Samuel Little, he saw no value in life. He saw no purpose. He didn't care. So he was very nihilistic. He said, fuck it, I don't care. My mama wasn't there for me. I don't have no daddy. I had a grandma, but shit, I was a troubled kid. So I don't give a fuck. I would take my anger out on everybody. I don't care. Any woman that come across me that remind me of my mother, I'm taking it out on her. So it's very sick and twisted minded. So, you know, you got people with these pathological behavior that do not need to be here. They need to go. So he should have, if, in my own conclusion to end this video, he should have been executed. He should have received the death penalty. He should have. I mean, because people tried to get him some help and the help didn't work. Yeah, we might argue that he didn't have a strong black male figure. But obviously he didn't want the help. So he should have been executed. Not given life in prison, but execution. And he should have been executed the first time that he was indicted on the murder, instead of serving 10 years. But that is the fault of the justice system, because they allowed him to get away and they were not very careful. They did not take a precautionary action when they was doing it. They didn't examine or go into enough details looking over the cases. They just pretty much dismissed the case and let it go and let this man free, and he went back into society and continued to commit more criminal activity instead of making it more punishable for him, making it much harder for him. They made it a lot easier. So again, where do I stand? That man should have got death penalty. That's the only way. He should have got death penalty the first time that he was convicted of killing multiple women. But that's the way the justice system works. They pick and choose when they ready. So the victim families have to suffer while this individual either live free or remain alive in prison. Yep. They pick and choose. So anyways, I want to show a book here that goes into the evolution of psychopathology. And this book right here is called Evolutionary Psychopathology, a Unified Approach by Marco del Gudice or Gaudice, whatever. Yeah, so Evolutionary Psychopathology, a Unified Approach, Marco del Gaudice. And you can find this book on Amazon. You can also buy this book you can buy this through ebook. And you can also check it out at Barnes and Nobles. I'm quite sure they'll have it at Barnes and Nobles. But yeah, this book right here would go into the evolution of the psychopathological behavior, etc. So basically, humans been committing crime for years and centuries. Even beginning of time, crime has always been taking place. And that's nothing we can really do to stop crime from happening. No matter how much we try to bring about positivity, activism, philanthropy work, it's not going to stop crime. Now, the only thing that can be done is to help to reduce crime, but it won't stop the criminals from doing criminal things. Because this is like a degeneracy of humanity. I'm going to say it again. It's a degeneracy of humanity that's never going to go away. And some people commit crime when it's necessary, and there's others who commit crime because it's pleasurable, and some people commit crime because it's profitable. So I'm going to say again, people commit crime when it's necessary, people commit crime when it's pleasurable, and people commit crime when it's profitable. Remember that. All right, so this is Tiffany, and I am done for tonight. And make sure you guys check out my channel, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and also share my video contents. And thanks to those who have been subscribing to my channel. So until next time, may peace, power, and elevation be to you all. Please be safe, and I'll talk to you guys later. All right.